Today we're talking about how to sell your house to an investor. Thanks for joining. If you're new here, make sure you like and subscribe so you can get updates on all the videos we do that are Utah real estate related. I'm Becca Summers with Seasons Real Estate, and today we're talking about how to sell your house to an investor. So typically, if you're thinking about how to sell your house to an investor, you have a tight timeline and need to sell quick, and potentially you're looking for a cash buyer. So there's typically three types of investors who are going to be looking at houses to buy quick or with cash. They are a retail investor who's looking to buy it and turn it into a rental property, so they don't need as much of a profit margin between the purchase price and what they buy it for. The second one is a flipping investor. So their plan for the house is to buy the house, renovate it, and sell it again. They need profit margin built into what they buy the house for, so that is the second one. The third one is going to be what's called a wholesaler. So wholesalers are often the ones that market we buy your house cash or cash offers, quick cash offers, stuff like that. And what they're doing is they're actually going to buy your house by putting it under contract, and then they're going to potentially sell your house to their list of cash buyers. So why would someone sell to a wholesaler? The thing with wholesalers is they have a big, extensive list of investors to sell the house to, and it takes years and years to actually build up that list. So depending on your timeline and how quick you need to get your house sold, they might be the ones who can actually find the investor quickest for you. So how do we actually come up with what the investor is going to offer you on your house? So I'm going to break it up again to the three because it all depends on what they're doing and what their end goal for the house is. So the first one is that retail, they're going to turn it into a rental property. They are probably going to offer you what would be your after renovated value, meaning if your house was in perfect moving condition, minus 20% because they have profit margin they need to build into it, minus the cost of the repairs. So if you had a $300,000 house, if it was in move-in ready condition, meaning new paint, new carpet, all the updates that all your neighbors have, minus 20% would be $60,000 plus the repairs it would take to get it to that $30,000 or to that $300,000. So say it costs $20,000 to replace the carpets, update the tile, and paint the house. So in that scenario, they would be offering you $220,000 for your house, where the numbers would make sense for them to buy it, renovate it, and turn it into a rental. So the second one on the list is a flipper. So their goal is to take the house, renovate it, and then sell it again on the open market. So they need profit built into the offer they're going to give you. So say your house again is worth $300,000 when it's all said and done. They're going to take 30% off, which is $90,000, and then the $20,000 it's going to take to renovate. So their offer is going to be $190,000. So the third option is to sell your house to a wholesaler. So the wholesaler is the one who has the list of investors, but they might not be the investor. Sometimes they are, sometimes they also flip on the side and then wholesale transactions that they don't have the time for. But with them, they need profit as well. So they're going to offer you 30% plus possibly more because they're going to potentially sell it to a flipper. Now, if they sell it to someone who's going to turn it into a rental, they might offer you a little bit less, but the more they can negotiate and have a lower offer price for you, the higher they can potentially sell it and make money. Some of these wholesalers will sell it for just $5,000 more than their contract price. Other times they'll sell it for quite a bit more. It really depends on the condition of your house. Why would someone need or want to even sell to an investor when these numbers are so much less than what you could sell it on the retail market? Typically it's timing. We actually bought a property from a wholesaler, and what happened was they were getting foreclosed upon and they had to sell the house within a week or they were going to ruin their credit and not make any money whatsoever. But because what they owed on the house versus what it was worth would have made them a little bit of money, they reached out to an investor who put it on their wholesale list and reached out to all of the investors that they know, and we were able to buy the house. We had to buy the property within a week, which is why they couldn't sell it on the retail market, because most retail buyers can't close on a property that fast. Most retail buyers are at least 30 to 45 days, and depending on the condition, sometimes there's repairs and realtor fees. So if you look at these numbers and subtract realtor fees and repairs, they're not as bad, but they are quite a bit more than you would potentially sell a house for on the retail market. So the last option, which really isn't an investor, but if you have a little bit more time, is to sell your house on the retail market. So say your house does need some work. Most of retail buyers would buy a house that's priced at 10% less than market value. So if it's worth $300,000, 10% less than market value is $30,000 less, but that looks like a really good deal and you potentially get it bid up. When you're selling on the retail market, you can sell it in an as-is status, but it's a little bit trickier to find a buyer. So it really depends on what the condition of your house is, if that process is going to work. Now keep in mind, selling a house on the retail market, you still have realtor fees. So depending on your timeline and how quickly you need to get close, sometimes selling to an investor is the best route to go. So the last thing I wanted to cover is how do they actually come up with the after renovated value? So how we come up with value at all in real estate is we compare what your neighbors are selling for. So if you have a neighbor who has all new kitchen, bedrooms, bathroom, roof, furnace, plumbing, everything, that's what the after renovated value would be for your home. And then how do they come up with the cost of what it's going to actually cost to do these renovations? A lot of these investors are contractors, so they know what it's going to cost to replace a furnace or a water heater. So why would someone actually want to sell to an investor? The main reason is their house actually has more work needed on it than just $20,000 paint and carpet. Typically when people are selling to an investor, that the house potentially has structural issues, needs updated electrical or plumbing, which are things that not all retail buyers want to take on. So a good look at what your house has to offer is how you decide who is the best route to go with. So there was a property here in Utah County that was for sale through wholesalers, and I was getting the property, and it was getting to the point that the numbers almost made sense that I was going to buy it. So I ran all the numbers, looked at the after renovated value, but decided the project was more than I wanted to take on. The home didn't end up selling with the wholesaler. So after a while, it showed up on the MLS, the multiple listing service, and it was listed for $50,000 higher than that wholesaler had it for sale for. And the interesting thing about it is because it was on the multiple listing service, it got exposure to even more people and ended up getting bid up. And the seller made more money selling on the multiple listing service, even though the home had to sell cash and could not get financing because it had a lot of issues with it because it had the most exposure. So depending on your house and your situation and your timeline, sometimes selling a house that has to sell cash on the multiple listing service is gonna sell for more money because of exposure. Because when it comes down to it, the more people that see your house, the more offers you're gonna potentially get on your home. If you're looking to sell your house here in the state of Utah, please reach out to me. I actually am able to give you all of these options because I have a list of cash investors. I also have the knowledge in the retail market to know if your house will work in the retail market. Just keep in mind that standard contract times are 30 to 45 days, and based off the condition of your house, some houses can't even get financing. So if we need to find you a cash investor, I have the means and ability to do that.